Hello, and thanks for tuning in to the Dream is Real podcast. This is the place if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in New York real estate. Before we get started, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. You don't want to miss an episode because we're going to keep bringing you great content, and today is no different. I am here with Brian Cosgrove of Interstate Home Loan Center. Thanks for joining us, Brian.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. So you are in the important space of home financing. How did you get there?
Well, it's honestly an interesting story. I was kind of working dead-end jobs. Originally, I was an artist, so I went to art school.
Very cool.
Yeah, so advertising, graphic design background, shooting content, actually. It wasn't as big as it is now. But when I was in school, it was a really good hobby of mine. Like, I love to create, I love to do art. And then when I started to sell my own art, I kind of hated it, right? They were giving me like homework essentially. So my hobby became something that I had to do.
Oh, that's fair enough. So it was a labor of love, and then next thing you know, it's a job. And my background's in that space a little bit too. Okay. And when you pour it out and you do something you love and do something that you know is good, but was it the critical feedback? Was it just the demand? What was?
I love the feedback. It actually, like, going to art school made me who I am today. Like, I'm really good at this job because of that. It's weird, but it took the passion out of it. So I had to go home and I had to create in order to meet this requirement for school and get a grade.
Got it.
So then I realized in advertising, like, I didn't want to sell the crap. Like, I don't want to spend my time with a toothpaste ad. I don't care about selling toothpaste. And so that's where it went. And then from there, I served tables my whole life. So very much service oriented. It also trained me for this job as well. I didn't know as a kid, but I was tired of it. I was tired of serving people on Fridays and Saturday nights. I'm working until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm taking care of people that are working 9 to 5s. And it was like a schedule reversal. I'm up all night long. I'm sleeping during the day, and it felt very empty. So I tried to shift focus. I ended up being kind of a laborer on a construction site. And I ended up having a child out of wedlock, so brand new kid. And I got fired from the construction job 2 weeks before Christmas.
Oh.
My daughter's first Christmas, okay? I had no money for gifts. I was owed money, back pay from this boss that fired me out of nowhere for no reason, right? And I didn't have any money to go, I was expecting 2 weeks of pay and 2 weeks back, I was owed, right? Like a month of money for Christmas. So my buddy, I met this guy. He owns a mortgage brokerage here in Suffolk County. And first time I met him, he had a Rolex on, 3-piece suit. He was driving an Escalade. I'm like, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm a mortgage broker. I'm in finance. Don't worry about it. I'm like, what the hell? We were just becoming close friends. So for the next year while I worked that dead-end job, he was like, dude, you'd be great at selling mortgages. I'm an artist. I'm not good at math. Like horrible at math,
Fair enough.
And finance, I'm thinking, dude, I'm like a creator. Like, I can't do that. And so finally, when I lost that job, he said, please just come work for me for 2 weeks. Try it. If you hate it, at least you have $1,000 to buy your kid gifts.
Wow.
And it changed the trajectory of my life, changed my life forever, changed my child's life forever. And I'm forever indebted to him. His name is Michael Stack, and changed my life. I never left.
That's tremendous.
Yeah.
So what was it about the mortgage industry as an artist that you felt was going to be, you already said the math thing, which I totally get.
Right.
Was there anything else that you felt maybe you had a kind of a supposed just viewpoint about the mortgage industry that you felt like was going to be a barrier to you?
Like, when you think of finance, people that are like finance bros,
you think of like bean counters,
stock guys,
right.
MBAs, like, suit and tie guys. So I just immediately was like, I had no faith in myself. Like, how am I ever going to be able to
you fill a suit really well.
I put the t-shirt on. I try to keep a little bit of my natural swag in
Fair
there,
enough.
But I felt like it was out of my reach. I really did. And I thought that I was never going to be able to do something like that.
Wow.
But life put me in a circumstance where it was like, I had no other real option, and I was right before that, I was a graphic designer at like a t-shirt place, and it's literally like working in a sweatshop. So, I had no other option.
Sure.
And after going through it and going through the cold calls and getting hung up on and learning the lingo and learning programs and all that stuff, I realized like I can do this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it all clicked.
Well, was there a pivot point where you said I can do this? Was there maybe like a small win in that beginning time frame that you can recall?
So interesting enough, I was at that brokerage with him, and I wasn't succeeding. Well, that's not 100% true. I hit a deal. Well, yeah, there is. Right away, within the first week, I got a lead. It was up in Westchester. These people had been denied a ton of times.
Okay.
So what I was being taught at the time was just cold call realtors. Just say, hey, if you have any deals that you can't get done, let me give it a shot. What's the loss, right? If they're getting denied at Chase,
make the connection. Let's go.
Why? Like, what do you have to lose? If these people are getting denied and I can get it done, you get a sale and I get a sale, and we get the homeowner into their house.
Win, win, win.
They're already in contract. They're like already time of the essence. They're about to get shut down. You know what I mean? Like They're almost going to lose their EMD. Like it's that bad. And my boss and I went through the file, and we were able to get it done.
That's awesome.
So, and that it's funny. The realtor's name was Mitty Carpenito, and he's super old, but he was crushing it. Like in his almost 90 at the time, right? He's since passed, but he became my first referral source. So my boss at the time was like, "It's got to be beginner's luck." And then I started to pull deals very quickly in the first 5 months, but it was actually it was like a false sense of stability.
Okay.
It really was beginner's luck. I thought I was going to crush it, and I'm doing so well. And then after those first like 5 months, I hit a really deep low.
What was the challenge that was maybe unforeseen at that point?
It was Trump's election.
Okay.
Okay. So he had rates were, as we all know, rates were low and steady for like a decade, ever since the financial crisis in 2008. I mean, you talk to mortgage people and realtors back then, it was like the wild, wild west. Like they were financing anyone, whatever, regardless. So then they had a consistent, steady, like 3.5 FHA, 4.5 conventional, easy peasy. And then when Trump got elected, the stock market started to rally, and then rates went up. So we went from having 4.5 to like 5.5 very quickly. And that's when I started to lose faith in myself. I wasn't aware. I wasn't educated on rates. I wasn't educated on the Fed. I wasn't educated on finance at all, the economy at all. And I started to lose deals because the rates were going up. And then we call it negged out. I got super negative, and I couldn't get out of the rut for a while. It was a while.
So your first bit of adversity, the market shifts, and probably by this time you've seen the market shift a few times to some degree.
A ton,
right? So it's funny because those rates were an issue for you at an early age in your career.
Right.
Rates haven't gone back for sure. So how do you help your clients in today's market?
Okay, so everyone wants to say you marry the house, you date the rate. Like they're telling them that, but the reality is, like, if you look at your monthly payment, you have to be prepared. If rates never go down and you're stuck here, like, can you afford this?
Sure.
And I think that in the industry, we're taught to we're not lying, right? But we're taught to sell people, right? To make them go through with the transaction, to get them into a house. That's what you want. And hey, the rates are going to get better. But what I like to do with my clients is say, hey, rates might not go down.
Sure.
What happens if you, like, I just closed a deal 2 weeks ago, 3 borrowers, the parents are citizens, but from Peru. The kids are first generation, and they could barely qualify. The payment was $5,700 in Oceanside with flood insurance. Can you handle this?
Right.
Like, all 3 of you together, your debt to income ratio is maxed out. This is for 30 years. What happens if one of your credits drop and rates drop? Yeah, what happens if rates drop in 18 months, but your credit drops and you can't get refinanced?
Right.
So we're taught to kind of guide people and reassure them and assume the sale and teach them and all that. But the difference, what I do is I'm not going to put you in a bad position for a sale. I refuse to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's refreshing because you're right. It's like any other industry. There are different ways of doing business, and we always appreciate working with those who will put the client first, right? You had said something just to go back to, and I really find your kind of entrance story compelling as a dad as well. As someone who in my career has had Christmases where, we can go all out, and other Christmases of like, how, and it doesn't all have to be about that, but you want to be like, it's instilled in you and any good parent to be that provider. And then going into the mortgage industry saying, I didn't think that this was possible for me.
Right.
There are so many people that go into the financing piece of the home or sometimes avoid it completely because they have a similar feeling of like, this could never happen for me.
Right.
Now, you've already talked about the one side of the coin of saying, hey, don't overshoot to what you can afford. Mm-hmm. But what do you say to those that may be leery for a myriad of reasons as to why it won't work, as to why if we get creative, like you did, in the few stories that you told, we can make this work.
Right. I would say the upside is that having a house is beautiful. It is my own space, right? Like I was scared when I bought my first home too. It was overpriced. It was in the middle of 2021 in COVID when everybody was scared about values. The rates were super low, but we didn't know. We didn't know it was the trajectory of values, that they were going to essentially double in 3 or 4 years, right? But what I would say is when I'm sitting down with my kid in my home and I've bought everything in the house and I've decorated the house and I know every inch of my home, there's just a peace. There's just a serenity and a fulfillment that it doesn't compare to anything else. This is my space. It's like holy to me. And just last night, my daughter and I were watching one of the Transformers movies, and she fell asleep in my bed, and I just turned and I looked, and I said, this is what it's all about.
Right.
Because regardless, as parents, as adults, as New Yorkers, as hustlers, we're going to make it work. Like that payment is going to get paid.
Right.
We are going to get those presents under the tree. You'll make your mortgage payment. There's nothing better than sitting in your home with your family and just knowing that like you put this together. They're safe.
Even when it gets challenging, it's funny. I said it to my wife recently because, anybody who's a homeowner knows, when you don't realize it, all of a sudden, the cesspool's overflowing. Yeah. Something happens. And we found ourselves getting a little bit stressed. And then I just turned to my wife and I said, you know what? This is a good problem to have.
Right.
It used to be that we would call the landlord would take care of it. But it wasn't ours, and we'll figure it out. Right. We'll get it done. The fact that we can and have to pay for our own home, I agree with that. And I think what you're talking about there shares a lot of the values that we hold here and is kind of the mantra of this podcast is the dream is real. You just have to surround yourself with the right team, right. The people. And it seems like you've got a passion because you've experienced, you feel like some of the challenges that you faced early on in your transitions in careers kind of and what you experience in your own life and family, you feel like that drives you in this?
100%. And that's the thing that's like I lived a really, I had a lot of struggle when I was younger, and to come on the other side and to not only be a homeowner, but to be able to like pay my bills and provide and to do it with ease. Like it proves that the dream is real. And not only are we all capable of it, but like it's obtainable.
Right.
That's the other thing too, is people think that it's out of reach. Oh, the dream might be real. They'll listen to like motivational speakers, podcasts, sure. Whatever. But it's like, do you apply those principles in your life? And are you walking them out into action? And that's the main difference is like, no matter what, if the fear is in my head, if I'm insecure, I have to get up, I have to suit up. And I have to show up, and that's when the dream becomes reality. There is an action that you have to do to make it happen.
So it's all about application.
Correct.
So speaking of applications, right? Someone who is looking to get into the home buying process, what are some things that they can do right now to make them a little more ready to have as smooth a transaction as possible?
I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, you have to speak to someone like me first.
Okay.
So this is what's weird too, and I'm guilty of it also. I still scroll on Zillow,
Sure.
to see what's out there. Wow, look at that one. Anyway, but
Well, we do it too. Hey, honey, look at this horse farm. You
right,
know?
right. I was like, oh look. Just the other day, I was speaking to my girlfriend. And I said, wow, that one's $750 in Massapequa, and it's got a pool, decent. Like, because
Right.
$750, you can't get anything in Nassau. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So you have to know what your obstacles are first. And we think that the house is first, scrolling around is first, clicking around is first. But the reality is if I'm not prepared and I
Right.
don't know what issues I have, then I don't know where I can go and how I can correct those issues to get there.
Isn't that the broken human condition sometimes, though? We don't want to confront the reality of things. It's better to not know. And I would venture to say that there are millions of renters out there that could, I mean, for the amount that it
Right.
costs to rent a home
Now, yes.
anyway.
Yes.
Right? And have you ever had situations where somebody says, somebody goes to a professional like yourself and they say it's not possible, and then they come to you and you find a way? I mean, you kind of gave us an instance earlier, but talk through that a little bit more.
I mean, there's always a way. And that's the thing. It's about what makes a good loan officer. And this is what I was taught early on. So you have like order takers. They're just people that, sure, here's your information, and they spit out a number. This is what I can give you. A lot of them don't even collect documents and know what they're looking at. That's the major difference. But there's always a way to get creative and to structure these files to get these people where they need to go, for the most part, right? So, one of the big ones right now, I was listening to a previous podcast. You were talking about what's a good program for first-time homebuyers. The best thing right now is illegal rental income is now allowed.
Okay.
Right? So like illegal ADUs or accessory units, we used to not be able to use that.
ADU, what for?
So like an illegal basement apartment,
For the
an
audience.
illegal garage on a single family.
Sure.
Right? So we are now allowed to use that, period. Before, we were only allowed to do it Home Ready or Home Possible, which are income-driven programs.
Okay.
Okay. Now we can just use it. So a lot of the times people are like, oh, I can't make it work. No, you can. You just have to find a house that has an apartment.
Sure.
Because-
give us a hypothetical, because somebody may lean in and be like, wait a minute. Because a lot of times any type of deal, real estate or not, it's about leverage, right? So we're talking about leveraging what the home already has. So
Correct.
Give us, even if you can give us a real scenario or a hypothetical.
I'll give you a real one right now. It's a little tough. So again, we can be creative and we can push, but you're still confined to your debt and your income, more or less. Okay, we could stretch as far as we can go, but there's only so much that we can do.
Sure.
Okay, but it's a sad story. I'm actually kind of a little bit shocked and upset about it, but this is the reality of real estate right now. Okay, mortgages. I have a woman. She's a single mother. She's got 2 kids, and she's a New York City police officer. She's earlier in her career. They don't make Nassau and Suffolk money,
Right,
Okay, NYPD. She makes like, I think 70.
Which they should, if anybody's listening right now.
That's what I mean. I mean, these people are. The reason I'm so upset about it is she's putting her life on the line,
Yeah.
literally, and it's not a good time to be a cop. Like, it's really not.
Yeah, in the arguably the capital of the world, right? New York City, one of the most important cities on the planet.
And they're doing one of the most important jobs,
Right?
And we want to. There's no respect for them, and it's a lot of the defund the police stuff. And regardless of our political views and all that stuff, this individual is just trying to support her kids.
Sure.
She's just trying to achieve the dream, and she can't. So that's upsetting. But regardless, so she doesn't have any debt. So there's nothing that we can pay off. There's nothing we can, restructure on the DTI side, because it just is what it is. We call it a front end ratio. It's income versus the house, no debt.
Right.
Okay. So she's searching and searching, and this agent who's also a cop that I know in the city reached out. He said, "Dude, she's got bad loan officers or whatever. Can you give it a shot?" So I look at everything. She can qualify for next to nothing with Long Island taxes, right? With Westchester taxes,
Right.
And I said, "Are you open to having, a tenant?" She says, "At this point, I don't care." I said, "Okay, well, if you find a basement apartment with a separate entrance, a bathroom and a kitchen, and it can rent for $2,000 a month, we can use 75% of that, right? So that's $1,500. Boom, she's in qualifying range." Again, the houses are so overvalued. Personally, I think she would have to go to Mastic, Shirley, Ridge.
Yeah, there are definitely places that are a little bit more conducive to, a better, more reasonable
price
home
range.
prices.
Yeah,
price
to
range.
getting you to work. But
Yeah.
so then she says, I don't want to drive. She's working in the Bronx.
Yeah, sure.
So I totally get it. You don't want to drive an hour plus with traffic. That could be like 6 hours of commuting if you hit traffic both ways, right?
Right.
So she's now searching upstate. So she's looking at areas upstate. She's getting a little more flexible with where she wants to live within her commuting range. But now she's in position where her dream can become a reality. It's no more, the loan officer screwed up, the bank screwed up, and they're over promising and under delivering. The numbers are the numbers, period. And now you can make it work, and no one ever gave her the accessory unit.
Right. So you've put tools in her hands, so to speak, where she's now although she may have to temper some of her initial expectations in terms of location, overall structure of living in the home, but at least she can take that step forward. And, so many of us want to talk about, getting our dream home, our forever home right off the bat. But in certain scenarios, just the prospects of initial home ownership, it could be a stepping stone where, a few years down the line, I mean, let's say, give a scenario here of somebody who tempers their expectations a little bit and goes ahead and gets a home and has a tenant that maybe doesn't live in the exact area that they would have chosen right off the bat. She does that. And then let's say 3 to 5 years from now, right? She's in that home prices, may or may not, I'm not going to ask you to speculate on that, but give us a scenario of if she were to be able to pull the trigger, so to speak, on something like that, what that could open for her down the road.
I'll just use myself as an example. So I was scared. I was scared to buy a home. It's a huge transaction, and I closed in February of 2021. I did get a sick interest rate and all that, but my house was overvalued. I looked at it. When I looked at it, I said, I'll offer you $450. It's worth $450. I know that for a fact. I didn't even have to comp it out. And they were like, no, we have a much better offer. You'll be second. I said, okay, whatever, right? I wasn't going to waive an appraisal or anything like that. Regardless.
You stood your ground. Okay,
well, I stood my ground, and I lost. I lost.
Okay.
And that's the thing about real estate. We can't get emotionally attached to the box, right? This is my home, and it feels great and all that, but this is an asset that I'm going to leverage for a better future, right? For me and my kids.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm enjoying living in this space, but it's nothing more than a box. And I'm going to sell this box at some point, right? And I'm going to use it.
Right. You make the home. Right.
Yeah, but also the home can really make your future in terms of financial wealth or freedom, maybe. Again, you could get into a bad position. I'm not saying it's the same for everybody. But so for me, I overpaid 15 grand, I think, over the appraised value, right? I had to come out of pocket with that money because the bank can only lend on the real value. Okay, so if you waive an appraisal, you do have to bring that extra cash to closing. We can lower the down payment. There's ways to get creative about it, but regardless. So I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea. So the first deal fell apart. They came back to me and said, do you want it? And I remember one of my referral partners, an agent I really respect. I've done a ton of business with her. We're on the same wavelength. She said, Brian, just pull the trigger. Just do it. They need to know right now. It was like 9 o'clock at night. And I remember sitting in my car and I was so scared. I don't know, Anyway, so bringing it back to your question, how did that change my life? Not only did I live there, the house is worth $650 easily now. So it appreciated almost 200 grand.
Right.
And then now rents also have appreciated like insane. So my mortgage is $2,550. Okay, taxes and everything, insurance, the whole nine. It can rent for $4,500.
Right now, I hear some of the audience members who fallen out of their chair.
Okay. So now what? Instead of selling, I have all that equity, and people will be like, "Oh, sell," but I'm never going to sell. No. I'm going to vacate that house and use a lease to wash the payment out of my next debt to income ratio. Sure. I'm going to rent that house for $4,500 and cash flow $2 grand a month, which is unreal, right? And then I'm going to go and I'm going to buy the dream house.
Right.
And now I have 300 in equity and cash flow every month.
And cash flow coming in that can go toward that. And yeah.
And that fear almost held me back because it wasn't perfect.
Wow.
It's a little close to the train. My house rattles a little bit from being close to the train tracks. I was like, it's not perfect. It doesn't have the backyard wasn't good. So you know what? Then later on, when mortgages were really cranking, I cut a hole, had a contractor put a sliding glass door in my house. I put a fence up in the front yard because it's a corner property, and I put pavers down and I made a backyard.
There you go.
So it's all relative, because now people are looking at me and saying, "Oh my God, you own that house. It's worth so much more now. You have such a low rate." But at the time, I was getting screwed. It was 15 grand out of pocket, overpriced.
Wow. So as we kind of close this here, and I love your passion, man. When somebody's sitting in front of you and everything that you've kind of gone through, from being there, not realizing it could happen, to making some of the tough decisions yourself, how does that translate into how you can help people? And also, how would they get in touch with you ultimately?
The best thing that you can do is have someone that knows the law, right? Anyone can say, yeah, you qualify. Yeah, you don't qualify. But we have to know what makes or breaks a deal. And that's what separates a good loan officer from a bad loan officer. You know, a lot of people came in during COVID because they thought it was quick money. And a lot of people left in the last couple of years because it's not. It's a hard, hard job. So the biggest thing that you can do, whether it's me or it's anyone else, is get a real loan officer, a real professional that knows what they're doing. They're going to tell you all of the issues that you have, how to correct them, and how to structure the deal to get you into the home. My name is Brian Cosgrove. I'm a local mortgage lender with Interstate Home Loans. My IG handle is The Honest MLO. My cell is 631-617-9099. Feel free. You can call me literally anytime. And the best advice is just to have a really good loan officer and a good team on your side.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today. And thank you for joining us as well. This is the Dream is Real podcast. You can follow us here at Dream Select Realty. You can check us out online. Look at all the properties that we have available. It's dreamselectrealty.com. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Dream Select Realty, on X at Dream Select Home. If you want to be part of the program, email us at hometeam@dreamselectrealty.com. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Just remember, the dream is real.